All right, we are back, guys. We're here for the recap on Big Brother All Stars episode 12, I believe. Yeah, 12. This is David. I'm Cam. We're here every Sunday, every Wednesday, and we just recap the game. So we're going to go ahead. We'll get into it. We do this for the Russell Hantz patron group. If you'd like, go ahead and join. You can join for as low as $5. We have different tiers, different things, but we can get into that a little bit later. What we want to do first is go ahead and we will start with the recap. So do you want to go with what we saw at the beginning with the competition, David, the HOH comp?
Sure. So basically, the episode started off with an HOH comp. This is just kind of like the typical Big Brother competition where they have you like roll up the balls on like an inclined hill. And the only twist was instead of it just being one round, they basically made it into 2 rounds, or they separated the groups of house guests into 2 groups of 6, I believe, and 6 or 7, something like that.
Yeah.
And the first 3 to get all 3 balls in the hole would advance. So in the first set of people, it was Kaiser, Enzo, and David who advanced. And then in the second set of people, it was Danny, Kevin, and Cody who advanced. And it was this kind of didn't get talked too much or focused too much on the episode, but it was actually a photo finish between Cody and Memphis. Memphis barely lost. So that was pretty interesting to see. And then
as far as advancing from that first round?
Yeah, so it was a lot closer than they focused on. I mean, Memphis was probably like just barely maybe a millisecond behind Cody, but nonetheless, those were the other 3 to move on. And then of those 6, Enzo won the HOH in another close battle. Multiple people in that round had 2 balls already in their holes, and then Enzo was just able to finish it off there. But Kaiser came so close to shaking up this game, and just like last week's HOH, which is now being inches away from beating Tyler, it just sets up another predictable week, unfortunately, which we'll be getting into.
Right, yeah. So like you said, Kaiser, Enzo, and David, they both advanced. The 3 that didn't advance were Nicole, Davon, and Ian. They didn't. So then we go to the second group, which was Danny, Kevin, and Cody. They all advanced from their 3. Their 3 advanced. Memphis, Bailey, and Christmas did not advance in theirs. So clearly in the competition, what we saw was they're going to frame it around Kaiser because everybody wants Kaiser to win HOH, so they're going to frame it around him. And it was pretty crazy, though, how they're able to do it. Kaiser just rolls 3 balls and gets 2 immediately.
Right.
Just almost out of nowhere, just gets 2, and now he only has to work with 1.
And that was definitely an effective strategy, and we saw Danny try and copy that too. But, I mean, definitely worked out for Kaiser. And we even saw that on the live show last Thursday. Like, he was done right at the end of the live show, too, so he breezed right through that. And just for a second, it was fun to see the fear in everyone's eyes as Kaiser potentially was moving towards an HOH win.
Right. And what's funny to me is when you're seeing these competitions where people have to move around and run back and forth and do things, when I see people like, I'm not trying to be rude, but when I see David, I think, oh, this guy could be a little bit athletic, And then when I see him do the competition, I'm like, this guy is not an athlete at all. And then you see Memphis like huffing and puffing as he's going around. I'm like, Memphis, come on, man! Like, you need to get in a bit better shape than this, man. Like, you're running back and you're like running what, 15 yards back and forth at most.
Right, and then we cut to a DR of Ian just basically saying physics is going to help him get the win, and then they flash all those equations on there, and you can he's barely throwing it up the hill. So a lot of different methods, but I mean, in the end, Enzo's paid off. I mean, there was also something interesting, which I don't know if you caught, but Enzo was also trying to cheat a bit after he threw it up the hill. He was trying to tap the balls into the hole, which I'm sure, I'm sure the producers definitely would have yelled at him for that and it wouldn't have counted, but anything to win, I guess.
Yeah, he's just trying to find any edge he can, for sure. So while they're doing the competition, they kind of go into a couple of different things. One of them was Danny. Danny talked about doing her hinky vote, and that's kind of a big focal point of the episode. Because what happens is she goes to Cody a couple of days, or was it a day or so prior, and says, hey, let's throw 2 hinky votes out there and we can blame Davon and Bailey, right? Cody basically goes, no, I don't really want to do that. That's not right. And she goes, okay, conversation's over, right? Like it's done. They discussed it. They choose not to do it. Danny goes ahead and does it, not knowing that Enzo is doing it as well, right? So she thinks she's throwing one hinky vote. So now there's 2 votes out there, and she goes to Cody, or Cody comes to her and goes, hey, did you still do the vote? And she lies. She tells him, no, I didn't. That makes no sense to me. You brought him the idea. He said no. You did the idea. And now you're going to lie to this man's face like he's crazy and has no idea what's going on?
Right. And I was getting a little bit annoyed with this whole thing because actually at first, like I thought Cody was buying into the lie, but then he smartened up and he's like, why is Danny getting so defensive? And we get the DR from her as well, saying she wants to throw Janelle a pity vote, which is just absolute baloney. Like we saw that DR last week where she's like, I want to be the next queen of Big Brother. So clearly it was a personal vote for her to try and get Janelle out of there. And also depended on Bailey and Davon. So yeah, I mean, I thought it was going to work out for her, but I don't know what Danny's doing. She's just going back to her old ways in season 13 when she was just sitting on the key being immune for 4 weeks. And then she just got bored. So she's like, okay, let me turn to my alliance. So this is potentially going to blow up on Danny down the road. And this episode could have set up a downfall for her because her own alliance members and Cody and Enzo are starting to catch on to her devious ways.
Right. And they went in this episode as well. They went into it where her and Nicole are like super tight from outside the game. So her ride or die is Nicole Franzel, which
right.
is not a good ride or die because people are going to eventually get annoyed with Nicole, right?
And that's such a weird combo too, but because I'm not sure too many people remember, but when Victor proposed to Nicole in season 20, Danny was one of the people who came into the house to celebrate, which is so weird because he's like, we didn't get the connection there, but obviously they have some existing relationship, as you said, and that's playing a part in the season so far. But yeah, I mean, if Nicole F is your ride or die, it's going to be tough. I mean, she's not really like, we all call her like Rat Cole and Snake Cole or whatever. I mean,
Rat Cole. That's such a terrible, terrible name.
People on Reddit and stuff are ruthless, but I don't know. I mean, do I see her as an extremely ruthless player? Not necessarily. Like, I feel like she can be loyal to an extent. And I mean, she's got that going for her, but yeah, Nicole F is not someone to have as your number one because of how emotional and sporadic she plays in the game. But hey, it worked out for her. She won, so right. Nicole knows what she's doing, and she's in a good position right now, in my opinion.
Yeah, and Rob, yeah, Danny, she's playing too hard for no reason, and it's like we said, it's the same thing she did in her season 13. Right. I mean, she has no reason to do it. She's in a good spot. She's not on the radar, but she still wants to do stuff. She wants to make moves. She doesn't need to move. Unnecessary moves. Like last week when I said she's planting these seeds, she's going to everybody saying these things and trying to get in their heads and make them do things they don't normally want to do. And there's no point in that because it's all going to come back to her. And then it did come back to her in this episode, and she lied about it. She just straight up lied to the person she asked to do it with. So I think this was not a good look for her. And I think it's not going to – I don't think it'll affect her on this week. But maybe next week or the week after when people start talking about it, like Cody's going to talk about it. He's going to talk about it with Memphis. He's going to talk about it with Enzo and be like, yeah, like she lied to my face. What else? And then they're going to discuss things, and then everything in her game that she's lied about is going to come out.
Right. And I mean, at this point, like, it's obviously smart for them to stick with Danny and that alliance because in the first half of the game, you know, it's just textbook Big Brother, like ride the numbers when you can, don't make any waves. But it's going to be tough for her. I feel like she's going to suffer a similar fate to what happened in 13, where she's going to be one of the first jurors. And yeah, I mean, she definitely has her work cut out for her. And she suffered from big move-itis before Survivor players thought it was cool. I mean, like you said, she just makes these moves for the sake of it. She could have just sat on her 4 weeks immunity in 13, but she just got bored and blew up her own game, and that could be happening again.
Right. So the competition goes, and it's down to those six that we just named. Let me go over them. It was Kaser, Enzo, David, Danny, Kevin, and Cody all advanced to the final round. And Enzo actually pulls it out and wins the HOH. So I just want to address this because transparency here is before the season started, I did a few videos. Even when the season started, I've done a couple of videos that said Enzo cannot win a competition to save his life. I've said that. And that's based on the season he played in season 12. He has now won a veto, a safety suite, and an HOH.
He's got the hat trick.
Yeah. Are we ready to say he might be a comp beast coming into this season, or do we want to give it another week or so and see if this levels out a little bit?
I mean, this is just such an interesting storyline to me, like Enzo the comp beast, because we all saw his intro tape and he's like, yeah, the last 10 years I've been working out. I'm in the best shape of my life. And we're all like, ah, ha, ha, ha. Very funny, Enzo. Like, let's see what you can do in the house. But he's kind of making some people eat their words. So, yeah, let's see if he can keep this up. But he's dominating. I mean, this is just, it's so weird to see after watching him in Big Brother 12 and how terrible he was at comps. But
it's wild. I'm like, this is crazy. But so he wins HOH, and one of the first things he says is, I have the HOH. I want to create chaos. I want things to happen, and just we'll kind of go ahead and say who the nominees are because it's in the flow of the conversation here.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, he nominates Kaser and Kevin. That to me is not creating chaos. If that's what he wanted to do, so. He's playing it up that he wants to create chaos, but he's just not doing it. He's making a safe move. He's putting up the biggest target in the house, putting up somebody else who's already just been nominated. So it's not really that. There's not really a whole lot of blood in his hands. He said he wants to bathe in it. There's not a lot of blood. I think something he could have done is if he thought that the two hinky votes were Bailey and Day, which he didn't because he was one of them, but if he wanted to play that card, he could have put them both up, or he could have put Danny up for doing that when he talked with Cody. There's things he could have done. He took the safe route, I think.
Right, and he could have put up any of those people you mentioned. Someone like Ian also comes up to mind. I'm sure we'll get to that, but towards the end of the episode, he started painting him as a target. Team Enzo, there we go. Big fan of him so far. But
I've been Team Enzo from the beginning. I just said he couldn't win any competitions. But it seems like he's able to do it.
Yep. But yeah, I mean, Enzo, I guess I'll just get into this a bit now. Like, it was a little weird how he kept on talking about how he wanted to bathe in blood, and he's like, no one should be thinking they're safe and all that stuff. But yeah, these were the right noms for him because he's just well protected. I would say he's in one of the better positions in this game right now in terms of like how he's worked his way into multiple alliances. So yeah, these were the right noms for him. It's very predictable and boring from a viewer perspective.
Yeah, I'm not saying I'm not saying it's the wrong nominations for him. I'm just saying if you're going to tell the DR one thing and then you go out there and do another, like a safe move, when you're telling us you're going to do a big move or create chaos, it's a little bit misleading. And if he would have just said he's going to play it safe, he's going to do what's right for his game, which he also said he's going to do right. It's his HOH. He's going to do what's right for his game. That's fine. But don't tell me and everybody else that you're about to create chaos and not do it. That's my only knock on it.
Right. And people on Survivor, like Danny Boatwright from Winners at War in Guatemala, she's notorious for their strategy of not telling the producers what she's thinking. And obviously that plays a part in Survivor because the producers, as it's happening, like at Tribal Council, they ask questions based on like the way people are playing. But in Big Brother, like, you're lying to the viewer. Like, what's the point of that? Like, let us know what you're doing. The DR isn't going to,
Yeah, they're not going to see it. And when they do, they're going to be out of the game.
Exactly. So,
the only thing is probably that if they do release any information, production interference, they could start asking pointed questions. Like if Enzo said, I'm going to nominate Danny and somebody, then Danny goes into DR and production goes, do you feel safe? And she goes, yeah, I feel good. I feel good. And they go, should you feel good?
Right.
And then she goes, yeah, I feel good. And they go, but if you really think about it, do you feel safe? And it's like, so I can see where they like don't want to tell production a lot like that, but
for sure.
But yeah, so they go through to then to Kaser. And basically this is again, I'm gonna highlight this again. This is a dividing line between the old school game and the new school game, right? The new school game, if you are in a bad spot, if you're a target, if you're about to get nominated, it's woe me, nobody likes me, somebody help me. The old school game is when I'm nominated, guess what? It's time to get to work. We got things to do. I got to take care of this. I got to take power into my own hands. And I love Kaser's reaction every time because he's never played the game where his back wasn't against the wall. And
Right.
he looked at it and he says, I need to do something that changes the course of this game. And I love that. I love the fact that he knows his back's against the wall. He has a very thin chance of staying this week at this point. And he's saying, look, I've got to do something to protect myself. I'm not going to rely on anybody else. I'm going to play this game, and I'm going to do what I need to do.
Right. And it's interesting because you look at his track record on Big Brother, and as much as we love him, he's finished in 10th both times he played. So it's like, why is everyone so scared of him? But it's just because of like his persona and his demeanor. I mean, I talked about it in our last recap or the recap before where, you're just drawn to people like Kaiser in the house because you love talking to people like that. They're just, more approachable than like your everyday nerd or everyday jock or what have you. So people just love talking to Kaiser. But yeah, I mean, as you said, that's just typical old school. Like, I respect you. We'll see what happens. I got work to do. This is, I have my work cut out for me. Let's try and make something happen here.
Right. And Kaiser, the reason a lot of people like him is because the man is, I mean, there's a scene with him and Devon that we'll get into probably a little bit as well. But for the most part, emotionally, physically, he's unbreakable. Like you can put him against the wall and put everything against him. He's not going to back down, and he's going to fight, and he's not going to get emotional about it. He's going to remain level-headed, and he's going to do what he has to do to attempt to stay in the game. It may not work, but he's not going to whine about it. He's just going to say, "Hey, this is what happened. I did what I can do within myself." So,
right.
Yeah, and is Tyler miserable being there? Yeah, actually, I don't think he's excited to be there. And the reason is because before the season started, he actually told them he did not want to play. He told them 2 or 3 times he did not want to play. I was reading that and some people had told us that as well before the season even started. I know there's a video clip out there on YouTube where he was explaining it. He didn't want to play. He didn't want to come back in and play. Angela actually notified production that he would be there, confirmed he would do it, packed all of his stuff, and said, "You're going to play." And Tyler went to play. He listened to the lady, and he went into play. So he didn't want to play. And I'm not saying that he's not enjoying the game right now or like that he doesn't want the $500,000, but it really wasn't his decision to play. So.
Right. And yeah, because he said no like 3 times and Angela's like, "You're going to play." And I think we can both agree from a viewer perspective, like we're glad Tyler's in the house. I enjoyed watching him in season 20. Even though like I love players, I love players more who face some adversity at some point and can overcome it. Like those are the players I really, truly love and remember and root for. And Tyler didn't really experience that in season 20 because he ran the gamut from start to finish. But nonetheless, I respected his game. And I do agree, though. This season, like, you can just kind of tell in the DR, like, the way he's talking. Like, in season 20, he was just so energetic, and he just seems so excited to be there. This season, he just seems, like, super stressed out, and we saw it in Thursday's episode with that scene with David. But, yeah, this just seems like more of a business trip than anything. And it might have to do with what's going on in the world right now, and he might be worried, about how Angela's doing and all that. But,
yeah,
hopefully he can get his spirits up.
Yeah, and to follow up, that's a good segue as well with what's going on in the world. Is we had a scene with Kaiser and Devon, which I thought about maybe shying away from it when doing the recap, just because of how polarizing it can be. But I figured I'd address it, and we could address it a little bit in the aspect that I like the fact that it's Devon and Kaiser talking, and Devon gives a very heartfelt explanation on how she feels about how the world is today. I don't want to comment on either side. I just want to address what happened in the show. And then Kaiser, who has been fighting the same battle in his mind all the way back since season 6. So when he came into the house in season 6, he said the same thing because it was only a couple of years removed from 9/11 when he played.
Right.
And he wanted to show people that people of Islam, anybody in the Middle East, they're not all bad people. So he's been fighting that since Big Brother 6. He came in Big Brother 7, and he made sure people knew. And now here he is in Big Brother 22. So I'm not taking sides on the fence or anything like that. I'm just saying that I thought it was amazing to me that a guy who's played old school Survivor, was fighting his own battles that he felt with what was wrong with the world. And now you've got Da'Vonne as well, who had hers, and they had an emotional moment. And this is where I was saying that Kaysar's unbreakable. You saw Kaysar cry a little bit, and you saw the human in Kaysar and talk about his family, which is an evolution of him, right? Because you wouldn't have seen that in Big Brother 6 or 7, the emotional crying part. You'd see this tough guy that wants to, show people who he is. But this guy, he's got a little bit softer when he's older. He's more emotional. He's more connecting with people.
Right. And as we've stated multiple times on these recaps, we always love how CBS is inputting these personal scenes. And not only is it just good to see from a human perspective, but we love seeing these scenes because, as a society, seeing these things and hearing other people's perspectives and their experiences in life and their hardships, it just can help us all educate each other on how to be more empathetic towards each other. So props to CBS for including these scenes every episode and every
good
week.
Human moment every week. We got one every week.
Yep.
Is it true that Kaysar was a last-minute add to the cast on Big Brother 6? Yes, he was last minute. He didn't even have, I believe, a week to prepare for it. He had, I believe, 3 days. That number could be wrong. I believe it was 3 days. He was supposed to be Michael's partner, if I'm not mistaken. Michael's best friend backed out for some reason just before it aired. And he said the only other person that you could call that could be my partner might be Kaysar. Kaysar answered the call, never seen the show before, didn't know what was going on, and just went into the house. But yes, he was a last minute. He was not the actual person that was supposed to be in the house as Michael's partner.
I couldn't quite hear you. Could you please repeat what you said?
Sorry.
Siri making an appearance.
Yeah, Siri that's weird. All right, anyway, let's see. Okay. So we already went over it. Danny basically wanted to pin the 2 votes on Bayleigh and Da'Vonne, which I don't understand. I don't get why. I don't know why. Is it just because they're a tight duo? Is that what it is?
She basically is trying to plant the seed that Da'Vonne and Bayleigh are a tight duo, and we need to break them up now before it gets too late. Because as we've seen in any reality show, I mean, look at Showtown and All Stars for a Big Brother reference. Just any duo, if they can gain some traction, it's going to be hard to stop their momentum. So, as I said, I understand, trying to plant the seed, we got to watch out for these 2, but she's aligned with them. So I don't know. Name a better duo than Danny and trying to blow up her alliances. I can't think of one.
Right. Yeah. Is anybody noticing a minority streak about to happen with Kaysar, David, Kevin, Da'Vonne? Okay, so I have noticed this, but what I will say is, as unfortunate as it is, it's not in any way deliberate or purposeful. I think it's just the way the game is going right now. People may look at that and see it differently, but I don't see it as in a Big Brother 21 situation where they were making comments to people like Demi about stomping mud holes in people, and basically making fun of I cannot think of his name right now. It started with an O.
Ovi.
They were talking about Ovi and his cultural backgrounds and those kinds of things. I think, unfortunately, this is just a flow of the game. Because if you look, Bayleigh and Da'Vonne are clearly a tight 2. So that's going to be a target. No matter what culture, minority, race you are, if you're tight 2, that's going to be a target. David, I have that next. David is not playing a good game at all. So they're talking about the hinky vote. He comes into the room. And he sits there away from everybody. He doesn't even join the group. He sits there so far away from everybody. And then they say, hey, was it you? And he chooses just not to answer, to be vague and be like, I don't know. Why are you asking me this? What are you doing?
All he had to say was he voted for Janelle. That's literally all he needed to say. They asked him which way did he vote. And he's like, what do you mean, which way did I vote? And then he kept on deflecting. I don't know. There's this theory going on Reddit that he's secretly playing dumb. And if he makes it to the final 2, he's just going to say to everyone haha, this was an act and I got you all. So in my opinion, though, I don't know. I mean, I just feel like he's kind of in the most interesting position in the game because you could get him out because I don't think he's going to go home this week. I mean, we don't know what happens with POV, but if next week comes and people say, let's get out David because he's so unpredictable and he does more harm than good to people's games and like blowing them up, I could easily see him going out next week. Or I could see someone like Tyler saying, yeah, I'm mad at you for potentially blowing up my spot with Devon and Bailey, but these are the type of things that make you a GOAT that I could take to the final two. So I don't know. David's probably in the most interesting position in the game, in my opinion, because you don't know, he could go out next week or he could just be taken to the end as a GOAT and go pretty far.
Yeah, and just to finish out the names on here, I just want to make sure we address all the names on here. Kaser, unfortunately, Kaser is tightly connected to Janelle. Janelle's the biggest target in the house. Kaser is her right-hand man. They're ride or dies. So, unfortunately, Kaser is going to have a big target. And then Kevin just got unlucky, I think. In week one, he just got nominated. Like, there was nothing harmful about it. There was nothing derogatory. There was no negative things said. Cody even said he wants to work with Kevin. It just so happens that the way the things fell, he got put on the block. So just to be clear, I don't think there's any negative connotations to if that were to happen. We're not saying that happens. Things can still change. But if something like that to happen, it's logical. There's gameplay involved. It's not simply people just nominating people because of their color, their cultural backgrounds, or anything like that. So I don't think that's a worry. If you have a different opinion, you're totally entitled to your opinion. That's just how I feel about it.
I agree.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
And so one of my favorite moments is when David's sitting there. What? Why are you asking me? Who? Yeah, Janelle. Devon looks and goes, David, or didn't say this. This was in DR, but goes, David, why are you here?
Right.
Why are you here if you're just going to mosey around and be confused and give vague answers about everything?
And she pegged the way he acts as like, oh, this is David doing his Davidisms, which I thought was a classic.
I'm afraid he's gonna be dragged. He's gonna be dragged to the end. I hate it.
He's in, like, as I said, he's just in such a weird, most interesting position where people could just say, let's get him out. He does more harm to our game than good, or let's just take him to the end as a GOAT. So I don't know. I mean, part of me just still hopes he's just playing dumb because this doesn't get into feeds or anything, but Ovi, who we were just talking about, he actually tried to prep David for this season on Twitter. And he said when David told him he was going on, he's like, Ovi told him watch like this season, that season, this season. Yeah. And David just didn't watch any of the seasons at all. So he kind of did it to himself. I mean, he's only seen half a season of Big Brother. And for an all-star season, to see him just kind of like, not taking it seriously is just a little disappointing. But
this doesn't have anything to do with the episode or the season. Well, I guess it does the season. But I just want to make a statement real quick.
Sure.
I don't know if anybody ever from Big Brother production will ever watch us two doing a recap on Big Brother. But if they do, I want them to hear me loud and clear. This recruitment crap where people don't watch the show and you put them on the show because either they're attractive or they fit a look that you want. I guarantee you, if you take your time and do your due diligence and you go through the audition tapes, you will find somebody who fits that same archetype of character that you want, that also knows the game, that takes pride in the game, that the money means something, the title of Big Brother means something, and they're not on there just to look good and get a social media following. I guarantee you, you can do it. So the style of casting where you bring in people that just look alike, just are attracted to each other and don't know what's going on needs to stop. I was hoping All Stars would do that for us, where people come in, they play the game, they're not looking for clout, they're not looking to build their social media. But unfortunately, we have David in here, who even after he played a season, has not watched any Big Brother. That's amazing. It blows my mind, and people who do the casting need to look at this and be like, that turns fans off.
Right, and I actually hope Robin Cass is watching this so she can, improve the casting for future seasons. But I mean, you're right, and just not even like obviously casting people like that is a huge issue, but it also affects the game because I feel like if you casted people who are a little bit more older or took this game more seriously, some of the outcomes of these past seasons could have been different with like bitter juries and stuff because just have a bunch of young bikini babes and beach bum 25-year-olds. Like everyone's just going to get super sensitive when they get played. But if you have people who go in there who like understand it's a game and they have stuff going for them outside of life or outside of Big Brother, then they can respect the moves. So casting's got to change.
That, Cam. I appreciate that. It's something that really bothers me with everybody that's casting, not just this show, but other shows, is there are plenty of people that want to play this game that take the time to send in videos multiple times a year. An hour, some people take hours to edit their videos and make it perfect, and you just completely disregard those as casting to go to somebody that you find in a bar that looks like an archetype that knows nothing and just goes into the house blind. And I'm sure there are some recruits that have done well and understand the game once they get in there and play and respect the game after they've played. But
Paul and JC are two good recruits, by the way. I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, I'm not saying that recruits don't do well and they don't respect the game. I'm saying the majority of them don't, and when they go into the game, that's why we see gameplay not so good in the beginning of the game, because they don't know what they're doing. They have no idea.
Right. And just last point on this, like, as you said, some recruits are great, and I think having like maybe 2 or 3 recruits isn't the worst thing, because it is cool to see people go in there and not understand how the game works and just try and, make things happen. But yeah, hopefully this is a new era of Big Brother where casting is a little bit more serious.
Right. Well, I'm glad I got that off my chest. So that may not be the last time you hear me rant about that, but that's something that bothers me all the time. So anyway, we'll go on. So then Cody a few times. Cody has he has 2 sayings, Cody. He's got 2 sayings. One is like. This dude cannot stop saying like everything. He goes, when he constructs a sentence, every other word is like. He says, hey, like, what are we like making for like dinner tonight? Like, I mean, I'm kind of like hungry. Like, how many likes can you put into a sentence?
Right. And it just takes my focus off what you're actually saying. If you just keep saying like I'm going to focus on that more. So
right. It's got to be a tactic. Like, it's got to be a confusion tactic where he says, if I just ramble and say like every other word, maybe they won't even know what I'm saying and they'll disregard it and we'll be good. Conversation over. But I'm going to put you up.
Like I'm going to put you up. Probably. I mean, you're safe. Oh, I'm safe. Okay.
Yeah. And the other one is, how many flags does this man have? This man's got, it's like every episode he's got flag here, flag there, flag here. Like, I'm like, how many red flags can this man wave? Because every time somebody does something he doesn't like, it's red flag. That's right. A red flag. I'm like, I think he gave 3 red flags today.
And the Calafiore family knows a thing or two about flags. If we flash back to Paulie and BB-18 with the pie punishment, waving the flag. So
right.
Pretty funny stuff.
But I just know Cody, everything he says is like, everything is about red flags. I need the man to broaden his vocabulary a little bit. Just a little bit.
I mean, with the way things are looking right now, he may like his way to the finish line. So we'll see. It's in a good spot.
So the first thing that Cody does when he realizes that Danny's lying to him, because clearly he's aware Danny's lying. There's no debating that. He knows. First thing he does is he goes to Enzo and rats out Danny. He basically says, yo, look, she came to me. She said, let's do this vote. I said no, but she still did it and got 2 other people. Little does he know he's telling a guy who also threw a hinky vote in. So how does that happen? Like, how do you think Enzo should react to that?
I mean, from what we saw in the episode, he just kind of brushed it off, and he just kept on going down the list with Cody as to who potentially did it. So that was just the perfect way to react to that from Enzo. Obviously, I don't care how tight him and Cody are, both being from Jersey and having that final 2. Like, you just can't blow up your own spot there. And also another underrated thing about Enzo, which I like, is that he's always wearing sunglasses. We see him when he's talking to people. So it's like
he's got them on.
And as funny as that is, and like as goofy as that is, and that just adds to Enzo's character, it also is kind of smart because people just can't read his reactions when they're talking to him. So yeah, I mean, Enzo's just being Enzo so far, and it's working out for him.
I'm so glad we have an Enzo HOH week, because that means he's going to get more DRs. That means he's guaranteed to be in all the competitions. That means we get to hear him discuss his strategy. And like I've said before, anytime Enzo can be on the TV, I want Enzo on the TV, because the dude's just funny. Like, he's just hilarious.
As I said in the last recap, he steals every scene he's in. It's hilarious. He's still got it.
Yeah. So we go to the have-nots, And here's another one of my probably weekly rants. Enzo goes, "Who wants to be a have-not?" And Tyler, as quickly as you could possibly imagine, says, "Pick me, pick me." I hate that. I think Big Brother should not allow volunteers. I think you should be forced to make the decision. But yeah, so Tyler volunteers. Cody then picks Davon, and I love the interaction that Cody and Davon had when they picked. They didn't hate each other. It wasn't bad blood. They laughed about it and they hugged.
Right. Versus, Nicole and Janelle.
Right. That was awkward and unnecessary. But yeah, and then Bailey, did she pick Danny because she's aware of that possible hinky vote situation?
Yeah, there might have been some strategy that I don't really know if we've seen them talk in a game this season, but I don't know. They're definitely not the closest, at least from what the episodes tell us. So it definitely could have been some strategy for sure.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if maybe Bailey caught wind about it, that there's a hinky vote and somebody's trying to blame them, because she beelined for Danny. It didn't really no hesitation, just went
Snap
Danny.
call.
Right.
And then we get that Danny, jokingly saying, "I'm coming after you, ha ha ha," and then Bailey says, "You better swing, but you better not miss." And I'm like, whoa.
And the thing is Bailey and Danny are both kidding, but they're both super passive aggressive. Like, so those statements meant something. They just haven't taken effect yet. Like, that's coming.
Right. And yeah, you hit the nail on the head. That definitely could be foreshadowing for down the line. We could be looking at Danny going down.
Actually, you know what? I didn't write this down, but Bailey did know about the Danny vote, because remember, she got mad because there's 2 votes and she found out Danny voted. And
that's right.
She said she's upset because she could have voted with Janelle as well, because Janelle's her friend. So she did know. I didn't write that down. She did know about it. And that's why she did that. Okay. Yep.
So definitely strategy and
revenge.
Revenge. The Revengers.
Let's see, Chris. Are you talking about? Let's see. She told Enzo last week she would put her up. Bailey told Enzo that Bailey told Enzo that she would put up Danny.
Clarify who the she's are for us, Christopher.
She told Enzo last week. Because Enzo talks to both of them quite a lot. So I don't know which one, who was who there. Let's see. Okay. And then we went. So we've already talked about the Nicole and Danny, super tight. It's a mistake. We already addressed that. Enzo is in the HOH room, and he's talking about nominees and who he wants to nominate. I believe it was with Christmas, which we have a Christmas sighting.
So he first actually talked to Kaiser before we got to Christmas.
Did I not write that down? Okay, yeah, I did. I skipped it. Yep. Yeah, you want to go over that? Go ahead. Go over that.
Yeah, so basically Kaiser is just doing like an old school pitch, as we talked about. He's just like, "I respect you. You're going out and winning competitions and all that. Like, game respects game." And then Enzo's just kind of not giving him anything. And this is kind of like a tell that Enzo gives, really any Big Brother player gives. If you're like, giving these huge monologues where you're just explaining your perspective on the game, and the person you're talking to only responds with one-word replies like, yeah, no doubt. Like, I'm just going to do these one-on-ones with everyone. We'll see what happens. Like, it's not a good look. And Kaiser did say in the DR he came out of that one-on-one with Enzo being cautiously optimistic. But, yeah, Enzo just wasn't really throwing any bones his way.
No, it seemed pretty clear from that conversation. Kaiser kind of knew it too, He read right through it, and we said this, and I think me and Russell did a video at one point too about this, where Kaiser looks at you, and when you talk to Kaiser, you better bring your A game and have your A game lying on, because Kaiser will read right through you, and he can read your soul. He's just like, get rid of Kaiser as soon as you can, because when you're talking to this man, he's gonna eat it up. He's gonna tear it up and then hand it back to you and go, all right, let's try this again.
He's a good talker, and he can persuade so many people to do so many different things. So just more credit to him, but that also makes him more threatening.
Okay, so he said Bailey Enzo was upset because Danny said she didn't want to be a have-not. Oh wait, is that different? Okay, so Bailey told Enzo that if Bailey won HOH, she would nominate Danny. Okay, so there's some underlying things going on here between Danny and Bailey then. So we have a few things. We've got Danny trying to throw a hinky vote on Davon and Bailey. We've got Bailey's telling Enzo that she'll nominate Danny if she's HOH. And then we've got Bailey putting Danny on have-nots for the week. So there's something brewing there. That's a storyline to watch.
This is the last thing, if you're Enzo, that you want to happen, because this could potentially blow his spot, blow everyone's spot with all these alliances. So, I mean, if Danny and Bailey come to blows, then it could just end horribly for everyone in the committee and then in the Slick Six. So it's not looking good for Danny at the moment.
No, let's see. I think I missed something else on here. No, we're good. Okay. So I like also, and I wish more people, maybe they do because I don't watch the live feeds. When they win HOH and they go into the HOH room and they have a discussion and the other person leaves that's not HOH, Enzo's like openly talking to the cameras, being like, I don't trust him. Like I'm not gonna listen to him. It's him and somebody else. I wish they do that more often. And I don't know if they just edit that out and because it's Enzo, they put it in. But I wish we could see more of that, more in-game live, just talking how you feel rather than going in the DR, being coaxed into certain answers. They're just saying exactly how they feel right there.
Right. And the only time I also remember that happening is in season 19. Sorry, I hate to keep bringing it up, but Josh, towards the end of season 19, when he was thinking about getting out Paul, he was talking to the cameras a bit in his HOH room about his strategy. But yeah, I do like when they spice it up a bit and they keep those scenes in. I mean, I think it's good for the show. And it's just a little bit more authentic than these scripted DRs where we all know the producers just basically tell them what to say and influence their answers.
Right. If Kevin and Kaser win the veto, who do you think will go up?
I mean, just from what we're seeing in the episode, it's probably going to be either Ian or Danny. So I don't know. Enzo, I don't know if he's going to be willing to blow up his alliance this early because, as I said, just Big Brother 101, ride the numbers until jury, and then, you can start playing a little bit more cutthroat. So someone like Ian, I feel like everyone can get on board with, just the fact of how he played his last season and how threatening he is down the road if you just let him get his foot in the door. So plus he's already won. So I feel like that's just a nomination that everyone can get on board with.
Yeah. The three people that I would say are Ian and Nicole, because Enzo's already said that they're two winners. Like you said, they're two winners. They've had their time to shine. He wants to get rid of them, let somebody else be a winner. I think he said in an earlier episode, there's not going to be a two-time winner on my watch. So the third one that I think is David. I think David, because David's sketchy. Nobody really knows what David's going to do. He's a wild card. But Enzo can pull those people in and corral them. I think if anybody can do it, Enzo can pull in those loose guys and those women that don't really have a spot yet and create something. But it'll be crazy. Like I hope, and I know the veto has already been played, guys. I just want to forewarn you: don't put it in the chat. Don't spoil for us. I don't watch the feeds. I've got on Twitter. I've got all the keywords blocked. I don't see anything on Twitter. Don't ruin it for me, please, because we will block your account. But I'm excited for this veto because if Kaser does, I think there's multiple things that could happen here. If Kaser does win, that's chaos. If Kevin wins and comes back off, do you put up a target next to Kaser, just get two targets out? Do you put up a pawn and make somebody else mad? I hope the veto is used this week. I really do.
Yeah, and the veto competition, as you said, it's going to be really interesting because it could go many different ways. We could be seeing a big threat leave the house this week, and if someone does end up coming off the block, then Enzo's going to have to get some more blood on his hands, as he loved talking about in that one DR. So, yeah, this week could go a lot of different ways. This season's kind of starting to pick up momentum, and I feel like the result of this week will, set us in one way.
And if you've watched other seasons like we have, that the first couple of weeks are very straightforward. It's a crapshoot who gets nominated first. it sucks if it's you because you're going to be repeatedly nominated for 2 or 3 weeks. But once it gets through that I guess you say the honeymoon period, and it gets into the gameplay and the alliances break, which is it's about to happen. It's going to happen soon. That's when things get interesting. And if Enzo unknowingly makes the right move, then that could happen this week. So.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, we saw a season like Big Brother 21, just looking at the gameplay, obviously it was controversial as we addressed earlier. But from a gameplay perspective, like the pre-jury was just so boring. But I thought the jury phase was pretty exciting. So I'm just hoping something like that happens this season as well.
Let's see here. Matthew, unfortunately, I am not Russell, and neither is David here. Russell does the Thursday shows. But yeah, he'll be on Thursday. He does it with another Big Brother player, former Big Brother player. He will be back on Thursday. He missed this previous Thursday, and he posted a video about that if you want to go check it out. But I will also relay the message that Matthew Bailey said, "Hey, Russell," for you. So now we've got just to cover this real quick because I swear I thought we were done with this, and they threw it in at almost the last minute. We almost got through it at the last minute. They threw it in. We had to look at these damn stars some more. And it took up 5 minutes. It took up 5 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, last week it took up probably like close to 10 minutes, and then this week it takes close to 5 minutes. I mean, do the producers not understand? Like, we don't want to see any more of this. Like, it was funny for the first like few minutes. Now I just don't really care about it. We get it. She has like 11 or 12 stars now. I thought the punishment ended, but maybe the producers...
It is the punishment that will never go away.
Maybe the producers think like the viewers love this for some reason, but if anyone from CBS is watching, we don't love these scenes, or we don't love this punishment. It's been real, but let's move on to something else. It's getting annoying.
And those star pillows are going to be in the house from now until the end of the season. So there's going to be every other clip, you're going to see one of them damn stars. And I'm just going to remember how I'm never going to get the 13 to 15 minutes that they put that on the episodes back in my life. It's never coming back.
Right, and we'll get some stupid montage at the end of the season, like we'll miss the stars when everyone leaves the house. I mean, it's like being an old drum at this point.
Right. And that's the only way that they were able to work Christmas into the episode, I guess.
It's becoming a theme.
Yeah. So cheers. Davon and Bailey are way too concerned with 3 girls being out of this game. Not any evictions had anything to do with gender. I halfway agree with you. I don't think any of the evictions had anything to do with gender, but I think as far as them worrying about women, the women being voted out, it makes it easier for them to get voted out if the men do stick together. I don't think the evictions have had anything to do with gender. Just like previously, we don't think any of the evictions or a series of evictions have anything to do with race or cultural backgrounds. But with Davon and Bailey, if women keep going, it's almost natural to think that the men would stick together. Not trying to be rude or single out the women, but sometimes that happens, and it goes both ways. In other seasons, there have been all-female alliances that tried to get the men out. There have been all-male alliances that tried to get the women out. Unfortunately, it's part of the game. But no, I think they are worried about it. They should be worried about it, but I don't think the evictions have had anything to do with the genders.
Right, and they've even worked themselves into I guess it's a fake that's like 6, but it's still a co-ed alliance. And I mean, people do genuinely want them in the game, whether it be as numbers or like legitimate allies. Point is, if they can, I mean, they're kind of on people's radars at the moment from what we're seeing, but it's natural to worry about there being 3 girls left in the house, but I mean, or 5 girls, something like that. But yeah, 5 because the first I can do math. But yeah, it's natural to worry about that. But as we're seeing this season, I mean, other seasons, as you said, gender has kind of played a role in the course of the game. But this season, what we're seeing is a lot of fluid gameplay. So I agree. I don't think it has anything to do with gender.
Right. Yeah. star pillows in the house are to make up for the lack of the all-star players. If that's not true, I don't know what is. I mean, goodness. Like we've got at least 4 of these people shouldn't be in the house, and that's just off the top of my head. But I guess that's controversial to say. You know what's crazy too, by the way, on a side note again, I know we're doing a lot of side notes, but not a ton happened in this episode. So is Memphis just got absolutely ridiculed, railed, and attacked for saying that David's a rookie and he needs to earn his stripes, step up to the plate. It's now a household thing that he's a rookie and he's playing a bad game, and people are calling him out on it. Nobody is on social media attacking every member of this house for saying he's a rookie. Nobody.
Right. And I guess people just more so are coming around to the fact that maybe like David should have been brought back for like a second chance this season or something. But I mean, yeah, it's just it's kind of hurts. Like I feel for David because he's not really getting the respect I think he deserves. I mean, people just are brushing him off like, oh, you were voted out night 1. Like, who are you? Who are you to tell me what to do or try and help my game? So it's a tough situation, but you know, we'll see if he can turn it around.
I can understand it's a tough situation, but 2 things. 1, CBS put him in that position, and 2, he accepted that position. He knew this was going to be an all-star season, and he knew he was the first one out of his season. So when you come into it, I'm a very self-aware person. When I go into something, I know all the negative attributes of what I'm doing. I know all the positive. If I'm the first voted out on my season, and I go into an all-star season as a player, I know that at some point that's either going to be used against me or it's going to be brought up in some form of fashion. It's just going to happen. The fact that people are surprised and he's a little bit surprised, it's a little bit shocking to me.
Right. And I mean, he should maybe start using a strategy like, who am I? I'm just the first place. No one's going to give the money to a person who's voted out first. Yes, Fraud Howard, he was a hipster for saying that 2 weeks ago. And we also just to segue into that, we got a glimpse of that in tonight's episode too, where Memphis was like, if I won the HOH, I'm going to put David up. It's like, Memphis is just so obsessed with David. It's a little weird.
I maybe he's just trying to finish the job, man. Maybe he missed his shot and he's like, I'm not stopping until I get this man out of the house. Like, I'm just not going to stop.
He's going to ruin his game to get this non-all-star out of the house when, I mean, really, you could argue Memphis probably isn't an all-star, but it's just weird. It's like some weird one-sided rivalry. It's one-sided rivalry. It's like it's giving me flashbacks to season 17 when Steve just hated Becky for no reason. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Right.
It's just so weird from a viewer perspective.
Yes. So the last scene we see before the nominations, or not the last, but one of the last storylines is Enzo and Christmas. So Enzo basically explains that he wants Christmas kind of as his pit bull. He wants her as the force out there, winning competitions for him, making certain decisions with the power that he tells her to make, those kinds of things, which is a sound strategy because Christmas will never realize that she's being absolutely played by Enzo. I don't think she'll ever be able to realize that.
Right. And I mean, Enzo handled that conversation perfectly because he was just, versus in contrast to the conversation he had with Kaiser, he was just so engaged and he was just so excited to talk to Christmas. So he's kind of like reeling her in. And yeah, she just kind of views him as someone else who was willing to work with her. So, she's loyal to him as well. So yeah, I agree with you though. She's, as we saw in her first season, she's just like, I mean, obviously her first season, she was in a tough situation with like the broken foot and not really being all there because she was on like a ton of meds and stuff, but
should have been out of the house.
Right. As we addressed in a couple of recaps ago. But I mean, yeah, I agree with you. I think she's a very naive player in the sense that she's just blindly loyal and she doesn't realize that not everyone else thinks that way in the game. Most other players don't really think that way in the game. Yeah,
I think it's a good move by Enzo to pull her in, be close with her, and she spilled everything to Enzo. Any information she had, Enzo got anything. So right. Keep her around. Let her do it. I would just let her do what she's going to do and just have her report back. And then Enzo knows everything. He knows where the votes are going to go. He knows who's with who. He knows who she's aligned with because who she keeps talking to bring the information back. So he knows who she's also in an alliance with. So it's It's just too easy right now for him.
Yeah, and I mean, we talked about how Dr. Will had that famous DR in All Stars where he's like, I'm rigging the game for Janelle because if she stays around, that keeps a target off of me. Enzo might do something similar at Christmas. I mean, she's only won one comp so far, but, you know, the more endurance comps we have, Christmas is probably going to kill those. So it's just a shield in front of Enzo. So it's a smart move.
Yeah, we went on a bit of a spiel about that, Kirk, about maybe 10 minutes ago, 12 minutes ago. I got a little upset. I ranted for a minute about it. You can go back and check that out. But we agree. David does not – he played a season. He didn't watch any Big Brother after his season to get a grip on the game. He comes into this season, still didn't watch Big Brother. When they're in sequester for 2 weeks to clear COVID testing, you could watch in 2 weeks – I think you could watch a season and a half in 2 weeks because that's all you can do. You can't do anything else. You can't watch TV. You can't be on your phone. You can't get on the internet, right? So all you have is to watch Big. What did he do for 2 weeks?
Exactly. Yeah, that's confusing to me as well. I mean, you just had such a good – like so many people would have killed to have this opportunity to be in an all-star house. Like I'm sure we've seen on Twitter people are angry that they didn't get the call. And I mean, you just didn't take it too seriously. But as weird as it is, this may work out.
It is showing.
It's showing for sure. But as weird as it is, this may work out in his favor and get him potentially $50,000 or $500,000. We don't know yet.
He said James Ryan called this season small stars. That's funny. Oh, that's good.
Hey, it's not wrong.
Small stars. Yeah, so we'll go ahead. We'll start to kind of close this out a little bit. So the nominees are Kevin and Kaser. And again, we see the two separate types of game, which is confusing to me because Kevin is almost old school. He's still playing in a time where you buckled up and you went to battle to do what you needed to do. But it seems like he's doing this woe me, why am I being nominated every week again? And then Kaser is, hey, it's time to go. We got work to do.
Right. Kaser is just like, dang, this stinks, but, you know, I'm going to try and make some magic happen. Whereas you see Kevin, even at, like, the table, he's just, like, blocking his face. He's, like, on the verge of tears, and it's just, like, it almost didn't work out well for you the first week he did it. Like, you could have gone home. And
you're up against the biggest target. Just relax. Like, you're not at risk right now. He's the biggest target in the house. Just relax. After veto, if Kaser's off, now you should worry. But while he's on the block with you, should be good.
Yeah, and his emotions just could get the best of him down the line. Like I don't think anyone's going to vote him out this week, regardless of if he stays on the block or not. But you know, just keep it together. Like no one's targeting you. Like it sucks being put up as a pawn, but you know, just put your head down.
Right. So just a little bit of housekeeping again, guys, as we typically do after the recap. If you guys enjoyed the recap. Click the subscribe button, click the notification bell, comment below. Let us know where we were right. Let us know where you think we're wrong. Why? I interact with the comments when I see them. Like the video as well. And if you do like the videos and other videos that the Russell Hantz Show puts out, come join the group. It's $5 to join. I'm a patron. David's a patron. We got a ton of other patrons. We do all kinds of stuff. On the patron page, we talk about anything and everything. Doesn't matter what it is. We're a close-knit group of people. We have a gaming page where if you guys have always dreamed of playing Big Brother and Survivor, we have an online gaming page to where we are about to post soon a Survivor mini that we did, a one-day Survivor game with, I believe it was 12 players. We're doing season-long org games. We have Big Brother fantasy games, those types of things. And it's really fun, guys. We have fantasy football leagues that we just drafted for amongst the patron groups where we're going to send a trophy. But yeah, guys, come join. We're doing a cruise. We got a cruise coming up. If you guys want to join the cruise. It's going to be fun. We've got, 40 rooms that I said? 40 rooms booked?
I think so. Yeah, 40 rooms sounds right.
We've got 40 rooms booked. We've got private rooms booked for just us on the cruise, a week long. We're all excited. You guys should come join us, join the cruise, join the Patreon page, come play in our games that are going to be on YouTube. Get your face out there, become part of the group, go win a Survivor Mini or a Big Brother fantasy game, and come join us, guys. But we will be back on Wednesday to do the veto, and Russell will be on Thursday doing Surviving Big Brother with a former Big Brother player. I don't yet know who that is. We're probably going to keep that a mystery, so when you guys tune in, you'll be excited to see who it is. But yeah, so we'll be back on Wednesday. Like I said, guys, comment, like, subscribe, join the group. We will see you on Wednesday.
Sounds good. See you guys Wednesday.